There are things in this world that are not always what they seem. There are also moments in time that we see, hear, and feel things we cannot explain. 32 will explore all of the aspects of what lies beyond our physical world, and maybe, just maybe, get some answers. Until then, we will keep wondering.
Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of 32. I'm your host, Jay Hill, and I am bringing in right now my other host.
Whoa.
There you are.
Hey,
All right. All right. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? That's a new intro. I don't
I'm
remember
good.
seeing that one before.
Yeah, that's the intro we've always had that I've made.
It looks fresh and new.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, that was the one I left on my Riverside account. So yeah.
Oh, love it.
So how have you been?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. I got my cat trying to make an appearance.
Oh, that's all right.
How about you? I haven't heard from you or talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I've been okay. Um, just been working on trying to get the documentary going, funding for that, and also working on um, some different artwork for some different shows. I've been doing some interviews with the Metal Freedom podcast. That was pretty good. Um, yeah, I've got like I got 4 shows this week.
Wow.
Uh, one of Metal Freedom, and then my new one is unscripted reel to reel.
Okay.
Yeah, for people who have been in front of the camera or behind the camera type thing.
So like stories about things that
Yeah,
have happened. Oh,
yeah,
that's
and
really
I
cool.
also got one. Paranormal Diner is gonna have one too. So yeah, I'm kind of busy.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, not too bad.
Anything that
Yep.
you're like extra looking forward to?
Um, all of it's pretty equal. I mean, I'm looking forward to all of it. I've been busy doing a lot of stuff, prepping stuff and posters and
Uh,
videos and stuff like that, editing and all that. And I spent all day today working on something that I was thinking about promoting a new T-shirt that I wanted to wear, and I thought I could promote it to sell it. But it took me a while to get that, but it's pretty cool. Um, Once I get it done, I'll have to show you, or I'll have to send you a T-shirt. It's really cool.
oh, that's super exciting.
So yeah, so so what we usually do on this show is we talk pretty much about anything spiritual, spirituality. We talk about spirits, ghosts, hauntings. Um, the purpose of 32 is basically to try to help people to understand to reach their full potential spiritually, um, and growing with that spirituality, it just comes with knowledge of how to handle certain situations. So, like with this show, this is kind of a one off that we haven't done a show since I think last summer.
Yeah, long time.
So, but yeah, um, talking about the spirituality of the things that are going on in today's world, I do believe that has a big play on people's individuality and their spirituality. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah. I think that everything that's happening, you can choose to base it off of and to think of fear. Um, and that is one emotion you can go with. Um, Not the best emotion. We all know that love and light is much stronger. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think some of the stuff that's happening, even in the world, and even in remote areas that are closer to us in our own neighborhoods and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I think that people are really getting affected negatively on a lot of different fronts. And I think that it's because I know that um, I'm a very emotional and spiritual person myself. So um, when things change and frequencies change, and I can tell the atmosphere and things just feel off, it makes me kind of physically ill sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, lately, I've been having my stomach's been kind of like not feeling the greatest. Just I don't know what the deal is, but it's not a pain or it's not a it's like an uncomfortable feeling.
Is that where
It's
you
kind of
hold
like
anxiety?
maybe,
Hmm.
but I haven't had any major anxiety rifts in a long time. I mean, there's
Mm.
been times where I'll lay down to go to sleep. I can put myself in an anxiety fueled frenzy just by thinking of it,
Yeah.
and I do that. Sometimes my brain, if I don't have a hold of my brain when I go to sleep, and it kind of runs amok, and I start to worry about things or thinking, it like goes to the nth degree, and all of a sudden my heart's racing and I'm like laying in bed going, really? So um, I'm usually able to control that. Um, it didn't always used to be that way. I used to have major anxiety attacks that would come out of nowhere. Now, when I was growing up, I never heard of people having anxiety attacks.
Hmm.
I mean, seriously, I never really. It was never a thing where, oh, Johnny down the street, your friend, he couldn't go to school because he had a really bad anxiety attack. I'd be like, what the hell is that?
Well, I guess
You know?
the question is, was it because it was hidden more, or was it because it just wasn't here? Because I know that I had like panic attacks when I was a kid, but it wasn't something that I went and told people at school. It was you deal with it and you move past it.
Right. Now all of a sudden it seems like everybody that has a has a panic attack, and not to discredit anybody, but it's more or less it's more prevalent in the media or even in social circles to the point
Mhm.
where they're physically affected. And I think that kind of transcends into other people's lives where so one person hears it, 10 other people hear it, and then they start thinking about it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a lot of that. When I was like, when since I've gotten older, it's just like I've had those panic attacks and those anxiety attacks, and they're very scary,
Yeah.
but I never experienced them when I was young, and I'm just kind of curious. I'm like you said, I think maybe they just weren't brought to light. People didn't really talk about it. You just dealt with them, or
Yeah.
even know what they were in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Um,
think too, you have to think about all the different things too, like how science is coming out. I say coming out, things that you see about your I can see it in my head, but the towers, the
right.
internet towers, like the things like that that are known to
Oh, the
cause,
5G and
yeah,
oh yeah,
like known to
the
cause
EMF. Yeah.
interference
Yep.
with
Yep.
our
Hmm.
frequencies. And then does that have anything to
Maybe
do with it?
possibly, yeah, maybe possibly since the erection of those towers and with phones and all that, maybe
Yeah.
that plays a role in it.
I mean, you just never
I'm not
know,
sure, but I
Yeah.
mean, it could. I mean, we've talked to different people in the paranormal that know that high EMF, can cause an array of different, effects on the body.
Yeah.
Upset stomachs or anxiety and fear or even hallucination. I
Yeah.
mean,
Like when we
it
go in
just
and get
kind
baselines,
of.
that's like one of the first. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
You want to know what's in the walls if you've got high EMF, and it's kind of like it's just weird. You would think that if has that has that always been that way? I mean, has that EMF was? I mean, were plumbers or electricians dealing with high EMF when they were doing that kind of work? I don't.
Yeah. I'm sure that no one
I
really
don't
thought
know.
about it. It's just like
I mean,
microwaves,
it's
right?
just right. But I think a lot of it is has to do with what happened in like with the Ghost Hunters show with
Mhm.
Jason Hawes and um, with Grant Wilson. They're plumbers and they were kind of talking about that on their show and people. I was none the wiser. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
EMF in the walls, and so I think that having, having all these, like these different shows, even though if they're paranormal like that, what I mean, it's kind of there's some good information there. There's some, people try to figure out why their house is haunted, or even if they think their house is haunted. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Logical. There could be logical reasons why the person is experiencing that or whatnot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Conduits. Yeah.
So yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. Um, had any recent paranormal activity around you?
Ooh, not that I've been paying attention to. I've been doing my
Right.
school stuff with IT and really trying to focus on that. So the spiritual side of me has not really. You can say pause, but not so pause. Maybe extra long recharge. I don't know. Uh,
No, I get that. I mean, there's been time, I've had to before, kind of put my spiritual side on pause and that, my gifts or whatnot. But
yeah. Oh, I also
there have been
did
times where,
hypnotherapy certification too since the last time we
oh,
talked to. So that was like that's another piece of it that was literally like trying to combine and think of like just the different things and the capabilities of the mind. But yeah,
right, right. Yeah, I think that, like I said, I've had to kind of pause some of the stuff that I do or whatnot.
yeah,
Usually that stuff just happens. So if I'm meant to see it or if I'm meant to hear it, it comes through regardless if I paused anything or not.
yeah,
And there's been times where I've, you know, seen some things and I've had some flashes of some faces lately.
oh
And
really?
hmm
What do you think
I
they are,
don't
like
know.
people you're supposed to meet or
Um, it has something to do with. I'm thinking it has something to do with the location.
yeah,
Usually, I'll get these before, um, if I'm supposed to engage in an investigation or something involving paranormal.
yeah,
But I mean, there's been times where I would get these months ago and nothing would happen. You know what I mean? So I just kind of log them and take them in and file them away. But I still remember. And when I know that it's prevalent, it's
yeah,
because if I see this person's face or if I see, usually if it's just something that doesn't mean anything, I'll forget that face. I'll be like, what do they look like? But the ones that I'm supposed to remember, I'll
yeah,
never forget.
yeah. I mean, you
And
have to remember time.
there's a
Our
couple in my
spirits don't
Rolodex
have
in my
time.
brain,
Yeah.
that are still there. And so yeah, but
Do you think it's has to do with Gettysburg
um,
location or something else?
I kind of think it does because I got a lot of pictures today. I got some video and I got some pictures, and am I haven't looked. I just kind of glanced at them because the gentleman that my friend's trying to or get these images for me so I can make this promo video. And it was a cast over day. I mean,
Mm.
it was gloomy. It was kind of but yeah, I know that I could probably go through some of those pictures and pick something out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just haven't quite done it yet. You know what I mean? But because I do read pictures, and that is one of the, can't say it's easy, but it's one of the things that I like to do because when I first started doing that some years ago, um, it was very exhausting. I mean, it was I mean, I was like, I did it once when I was working a job and I was on my lunch, and my uh, mentor, who was helping me with my gifts, sent me a picture and said, "Okay, I need you to tell me what you see here." Da 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 da. I thought, "Oh yeah, I could just glance in this. I'm on lunch. I'll glance on it." I glanced at it for 5-10 minutes, and I told her what I saw, and I was spot on. But after that, I was exhausted. I was like, "Oh,"
Mm.
and she basically had said, "Oh, you kind of got to ground yourself when you're trying to do some of that stuff, or you got to
Yeah.
get in the habit of knowing what you're doing when you're, when you're reading pictures or text or whatever, and
Yeah.
it takes practice and it takes
Do you
efforts to.
do you think you were reading the picture, or do you think that you were going to that location?
I was reading the picture. I didn't put myself in that position, um, just because I wasn't quite understanding of the remote viewing aspect of it yet. I mean, you got to admit,
Ah,
this
yeah.
was like, shit, this was probably 8 years ago.
Okay.
So it was a while. I mean, I was just getting into accepting, because I'd always been that way. I've always been gifted, but it's just the fact that once I stopped, drinking and drugs and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and my health and all that, I just was finally able to ground myself enough to open up and say, okay, this is fine. You know, so a lot of that stuff kind of came to me easy, not easy, but I said easier. There was some things that it was natural for me to do that. Once I started doing it to the point where it was kind of effortless and I could just do it, it was a nice feeling, but it's still draining, you
Yeah.
know. So somebody sent me a message that I gave a reading to um, a few years ago, and she moved to Arizona, and she sent me a message and asked me some questions and of this and that and everything. I don't usually do that because I used to have a lot of people that would kind of like pick my brain and just be like, what does this say? What does that say? It's like, stop. You know, I don't
Yeah.
charge people anymore. I don't do any of that. I just, I'm willing to help people. That's fine. Um, I just, I could never get around of the feeling of charging somebody for a reading. I don't know. That's maybe it's just I did it for a while and I just did it didn't sit well with me, so I just
Right.
stopped. And I stopped the whole aspect of doing gallery readings and stuff like that. I wasn't really comfortable. I'm a private person. I kind of just want that. If I can help you spiritually, great. You know,
Yeah.
if I could guide you in some way, great. If you want me to do a psychic walkthrough virtual, for a paranormal team, I'm there to help you. You know, um, I just I just didn't really feel that's where I needed to be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, everyone
And
has, when you have your gifts, you have to, your spirit, and you have to decide, what's your way to give back, give back with the gift that you've been given. And
and not to say that that won't change. I mean, it
yeah.
might change to some degree, but I'm okay with helping people behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And um, there was talk of working together with a couple people with a camera crew and doing you know not investigations but kind of like psychic walkthroughs at historic locations,
Mhm.
and that never really came to pass. I would have liked to have done that. It was kind of my idea, and the person that I talked to was like, yeah, I'll do this. This will work, and then I hear crickets, and so it's like, okay, well. that wasn't in the cards or meant to do, but that's still a good idea.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the Gettysburg aspect of it too. I've kind of integrated that. But so yeah, I mean, there's been so many different aspects of like reading pictures and reading texts, and even phone calls. I mean, it's easy for me to do that. Even remote viewing, when we used to practice remote viewing,
Yeah.
you know, um, it's really kind of it's interesting, the whole history of remote viewing. And if anybody who knows what remote viewing is, it's to basically see what a lot of people can't see from a long distance. You know, and
Yeah.
CIA used it
I was reading
back
this
in the day.
study that's about remote viewing. So just like because you were talking like
Mm.
CIA, right? And in this study, it was actually really interesting that they said that psychics, when they do remote viewing, they tend to get caught by like security systems at places more than what like your remote
Really?
viewers do. And the thought is because a psychic, like whether we mean to do it or not, we go to the place. So like our energy goes there and gets
Right,
caught.
right,
Where a
right,
remote
right,
viewer is able to make a copy of it and be looking at the
right.
copy, which I think is like,
Oh wow.
I'm going to learn to do that.
You really open yourself, I think, to that too. I mean, I think that there's ways to kind of safeguard. Well, you should safeguard yourself regardless, because
Yeah.
like what we've talked before, where I've taken basically my whole conscience and outside of my body to the point where I've lost my not lost myself, but when I came back, I didn't know where I was or what I was doing, and I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I gotta stop doing that. Because I
Yeah.
would do that when I would try to find directions to go to some place that I've been to, and I would try different paths, and so I would look ahead, be like, okay, I could go there, 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 and then realize that I was remote viewing all these places, and then when I would come back and I would through my eyes, I would not know where I was or
No.
anything, and
Yeah.
it was almost like I had to wait for the rest of myself to kind of come back and say, oh yeah, that freaked me out. That would cause me major anxiety. It did a
Yeah.
couple times. At one point, I thought I was in Iowa. I was like driving in
Uh,
Wisconsin, thinking I was driving because it looked familiar, and
yeah.
so I was like, "Oh my god!" And I remember a friend of mine had told me that him and his dad were fishing one time, and it was really bad weather and lightning storm and this and that. And I've had that experience before, but he was telling me that he and his dad were just driving, and all of a sudden they ended up on the other side of the county or the state or something like that with a similar bridge, and they were like so many miles away from where they just were.
Yeah.
And he was like, he totally freaked him out.
And no
I'm like,
memory of like the
and
travel.
I've been there, done that with electric. Yeah, no, it just was like boom. And I had that happen when I drove through Kansas into Colorado, when I had that and I was driving that speed of
Yeah.
55 and going to this big thunderstorm, this ominous cloud that had this crazy lightning, and then it started to rain. The next thing I know, I look down and I'm doing like 95, and an hour had passed, and we couldn't account for what happened. And but we
Ooh.
were, so far ahead into the storm, and I was like, okay. So that was weird, but that also transcended into so many different weird, unexplainable things that happened on that trip,
So
including
those
being
that
followed by a spirit.
that also
Hmm.
provides, oh man, I'm gonna cross a line here. So when you talk about storms and missing time, the first thing I think of is UFOs,
Yeah,
portals, and interactions with interdimensionals. So
right. And
whether
I
you
think that
believe
that
in it or
all
not.
that yeah. No. I think that all plays into, in some form, it played into that. Because the first thing that I was thinking of when I was going through this, I thought of aliens. I thought of something subquiet, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought that's what I thought of. You know, just like I think that, I'm not a big fan of Bigfoot. It's because I have a different view on that, and it's like that doesn't affect me. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I just
people love
read,
Bigfoot.
like yesterday, I read that there were, gosh, I know I'm going to get it wrong. It was like 7 sightings in the last 10 days in,
I've
I want to
seen
say
that.
Idaho. It was like someplace that I didn't even
Yeah.
know that a Bigfoot was sighted.
Hmm.
And it was different
Right.
people, but all in the same area. But I don't know. That was just like,
Yeah.
whenever you said Bigfoot, it made me think of that.
I've been thinking about that because I've seen that on social media a lot. That people are talking a lot more about that. I
Yeah.
have my opinions, and it doesn't affect me. I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. Same with UFOs.
Yeah.
That whatever. I mean, yeah. If you don't believe, that's fine. If you do believe, welcome to the club. I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of. But I just my main purpose in a lot of things is with dealing with people who struggle through life in general. But
Yeah.
I want that person to be able to know, to be able to come to their first and foremost their best version of themselves. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so that's why I make friends easy, and I talk to people, and they usually tell me their whole life story, and I don't even ask if they want to tell me
Yeah.
their whole life story. They usually just but
That's your
that's the
energy.
frequency. that's
Yeah.
that's your energy, and they feel
Hmm.
comfortable enough to where they tell you that, and they can be confident that you're not going to talk down to them or whatever. They're trusting you, and it's kind of nice,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think it's
um
good to always have that person because how many people are out there that have had some experience or something they can't explain or dreams that are so real and premonitions and they're just afraid to say anything because they don't want people to think they belong in a, hospital or something. So
right, right.
it's nice to have people that will listen.
There's so many different aspects to the spiritual world and spiritual realms. um One of my biggest thing for me is I have a fascination with spiritualism. Back in the early 1900s and how they looked at it. A lot of it was charlatan stuff. I mean, a lot of it was just for show, and it was parlor games. And but what a lot of those people, those rich people that used to play those parlor games, were not realizing that they were awakening certain things, or they were interacting with certain things that shouldn't have been interacted with. I mean, so it's kind of like, I don't know. There's so many different stories. And, you go to Houdini. Houdini, his wife, she would hold a seance on Halloween every year to try to contact him, and then charlatans would get involved, and she would know that it was fake. But there was times where she'd be like, he never came. And that's one thing he said he would promise to do. So it begs the question, why didn't he? And that's the big question, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that look at people who pass away, and you would expect them to come back or make a contact or whatever. But if that wasn't their path, if that's not something they chose to do, they chose to be, I'm gone, I'm moving on. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that there was, it's different strokes for different folks. You know?
Yeah.
We all have that free will here. Why wouldn't we have that free will on the other side before we cross over? You
Definitely.
know, that's
Yeah.
why we have spirits that hang out. You know, but Have you? I said this on one of my other shows that I've been kind of addicted to some of the paranormal TV shows as of late, and I don't watch that stuff. I
I don't
used to
watch
watch it
them.
years ago.
I can't.
Yeah, I used
Yeah.
to watch it years ago.
Yeah.
I used to be into it, and then it was like it just got to be silly, and then
Yeah.
it got to be kind of bogus, and so I stopped watching it. Well, as of late, I started watching all of them, and
Really?
except one I won't mention.
Yeah.
And there were certain things that I was picking up differently on some of the investigations, only to have them verify it later,
Yeah.
which was kind of cool because I was reading the move or the show,
Yeah.
and be like, that's what I see there. It's like it's almost like when you're play, they're holding up the birds to the play. You know what I mean? So that you
Yeah.
can see, and it's really kind of cool. But um, I've been kind of hooked on Jack Osborne shows because he's had
Okay.
several different paranormal, and they're. I mean, he did the Portals of Hell with Katrina Weidman. I can't remember if that's her name, but
Yeah.
and then they were talking about they were doing uh, Nights of Terror. Well, he was having his sister um, Kelly uh, go investigate with it. Now, years before that, when I was just coming into my gifts, about a year or so afterwards, um, I had said when I first saw Kelly Osbourne and she was with her brother, I'm like, she has gifts. She's very gifted. Holy crap! And I called it years ago. I was watching this show the other day, and a medium came to her, and she's he says, you're gifted. And she said, "There's been so many people that have told me that." Now, I didn't make an announcement or anything. I sent her a message or
Yeah.
Jack a message years ago saying Kelly's very gifted and she should maybe possibly explore those. And it just kind of bring credence to what I was saying when she was saying that I've had people tell me for a long time that I'm gifted.
Yeah.
And I think I was one of the first people to see that. I saw that on her immediately, but now she's kind of her life is and Jack's life. They're kind of I think they're kind of steering away from the paranormal, which is kind of sad because I think Jack is a really good investigator, and I think that he has great shows. His homecoming shows when he went to London was really good,
Oh wow.
and um, yeah, it was some of those were really good, and it was only 3 episodes, and I was like, would have been cool to have a couple more. But I've also been watching Expedition X and Josh Gates, and so I like all that stuff. I mean, I've kind of paused it, but it was almost like I needed to see some of that stuff for a reason, and I don't know why.
Yeah. Not
I really,
just
I
to
really don't.
reinvigorate your love for it, because if
I
you're
guess.
feeling like you're kind of winding down, and then you're like, no, it's not time to wind down. Like, look at what you're capable of.
Right. Maybe that's what it is, but yeah, it was just really weird that whole. And yeah, every once in a while, I mean, I've watched quite a few of them, but you know, um, yeah, it was just bizarre. I was stuck to these shows, and I had to watch them all. And some of them I already seen, but I was just like, and now my favorite probably because I like Ghost Hunters with Jason Hawes and Dave Tango and Steve. I and Sherry. I'm friends with Sherry on Facebook, and she's so nice, and I like her posts. It's a good show. You know what I mean? Um, Being involved in the paranormal. I mean, God, remember when you got involved? Remember when you got involved with Brandon?
Yeah. Yeah, that was from here, because before that was Germany and Texas, and I was doing stuff in Texas. Not so much in
Yeah,
Germany, other than the spirits talking to me there, but yeah.
That would be weird. When you're in Germany, did you have spirits talk to you in Germany?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
In German?
So if they talked in German, I don't know because I understood what they were saying. So it might have
Okay.
been more of like a emotion or feeling rather than that it was in
Right.
German. Yeah.
Right. And I expressed that when I did a gallery reading years ago. Um, my friend who was Mexican, and her dad had passed away. Her dad came through speaking Spanish,
Mhm.
and I only know a little bit of Spanish. Um, but he started talking, and I'm looking at her going, okay, he's saying something, and I was trying to pronounce what he was saying, and she was like, oh, and then he said, I'm getting that this is a nickname because my guys were kind of helping me too. Like, okay, he's trying to tell you this, and so I got this that it was a nickname, and I said the nickname, and her eyes went bing, and she was like, only he would know that.
Yeah.
You know, it was a family thing. It was a nickname that he gave his daughter when she was little, and I said it, and I was kind of mispronouncing it, but she said, no, you were really close, and it's not easy to say, and so yeah, it was. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So when you talked, I asked because I was curious if they would talk to you in German, but I know that a foreign language has come through to me in Spanish, and um, not so much in any other language, but that was probably one of the only times that I really was intensely influenced by that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh, where it was like loud and clear. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I don't. I try not to pay attention to every voice in my head, just because of the fact that, yeah, I still like to try to keep my sanity. You know, but yeah. So, so how was everything else when you were in the military? How was it when you first discovered that you could communicate with spirits?
So it was a lot of keeping things quiet just because it wasn't exactly something that being in the military that people said, "Oh, hey, yeah, go talk about your spiritual gifts," you know? And
Right.
it wasn't until probably towards the end, maybe middle to the end, that I was like, "Oh, there's more people interested in this and wanting to know like or validation for their specific gifts too." Just because
Hmm.
where I retired, there were some people there that, man, so just highly, highly gifted. And they knew, they just never said anything. And then when there was one gentleman, he said, "Hey, tell me what my gifts are." And I told him, and then the other guy says, "People can't read me. What are my gifts?" And I just looked at him and I told him, I was like, "Dude, you are." This guy could see, like walking through the halls of the facility where we worked, he would see spirits, and I knew it as soon as I saw him. I was like, this is what you do. And he just kind of smiled, and I said, "That's why you don't like being here at night, is because these spirits are trying to talk to you
Hmm.
and you're afraid." And he's like, "Well, I just assumed that nobody knew." And I was like, yeah.
Gifted people know gifted people, and like I
Hmm.
said, mediums know mediums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's almost like you're wearing a red, um, what do you call that? Like a lapel on
Yeah.
your jacket, and it stands out, and then it's like, oh, there's another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it's always been that way for me. I mean, there's been times where people I ran into, I'm like, oh, yeah, that person's, and I've
Yeah.
also had people come up to me and say, oh my gosh, that's when also people, because I know this too, is that the one girl that I talked to on the phone years ago about a case that I was looking at in Wisconsin. And she said, "Holy cow!" And I said, "What?" She said, "You are truly protected." She's like, "That's what I'm getting. Like, you got this major fortress around you. I'm like, yeah, because I'm easy. I'm easy to not get at, but it was kind of like I was more of a free spirit where I would just be like, la, 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 and then I had no protection. Well, once I discovered that I had all these gifts, or I accepted them, that's when I had to get the protections. Like, okay, he knows now he's got to be protected, and
Yeah.
because I really wasn't. I went through a lot of stuff growing up, you know what I mean. But I was still protected. But yeah, it was just she was like, "Holy cow, that's like a fortress." And I said, "Yeah, I've heard that before." So I know that, and I know that I've experienced a lot of different things over my lifetime. But I mean, I can't even imagine with you being in the military, of all the things that you've experienced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of all the things that, especially, especially going like, have you ever been on a battleship or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I can only imagine. So, what was your rank when you left?
When I got out, I was a master sergeant, first sergeant. So it's, I
So
guess,
you were
EA.
first.
Yeah.
So you were a master sergeant or just a first sergeant?
Well, so master sergeant and a first sergeant in the army are the same thing. Only the first sergeant, you're in charge of soldiers, and a master sergeant is usually more. I mean, you can be in charge of soldiers, but it's more administrative.
Okay, but so are you a first? Were you a first sergeant then?
I was, yes. I did it
Okay,
for a long
okay,
time. Yeah.
okay. So that's what I'm getting at is the fact that so I think it would be really cool if you actually went on a ship and announced your rank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And said who you are and explain why you're there and whatnot and let them know that you can help them. You know what I mean? I think that would
Yeah.
be really cool and really cool to document on camera.
Yeah. See
And,
what they do. Yeah.
right. And see what the
Mhm.
response is. Um, now, now you were just in the army,
Mhm.
and were there places in the army that you went to that you knew was very active?
So I never went somewhere and said, "Oh, I've heard about this place,"
Right,
like
right.
as
You
in,
never announced it.
yeah. But there were several places that when I would go there, I would hear things or see things. And then I would then go, what is going on? Like, why am I feeling this or seeing this? And then go look at the history and go, oh, okay, that's why. you
Yeah,
know?
right, right,
Yeah.
right. Do they still keep that in a kind of a hush hush quiet? With the new
Like,
administration, I think it's a lot of it. Maybe it's a lot different now, but do you
I
think that
don't think that,
it's
I think that because of the way the military is and how structured we are, and even now it's like, I know my hair is like pink now or like purple, but um, like you get in this mindset where you're wearing a mask where there's nothing, it's not spiritual, it's literally day-to-day job. Like, you are there to serve your country, you are
Mhm.
there to um, do what the officers have told you to, the people that are put in charge over you. We've gotten a mission. And so it doesn't become a, hey, what's that noise? Or, hey,
Right,
why do I feel this way today?
right, right,
It becomes, what's my mission today? Let me
right,
get this done so I can go home to my family.
right, right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, would you think that um, knowing what you know about some of these places that may have activity and this and that, are you still in contact with anybody um, from the military that are gifted that still want to interact with you at certain places?
Oh, I'm sure most of them would message me back if I messaged them. I don't talk to a lot of people, but that's more my choice and focusing on the things I focus on now. But a lot of people, I'm sure, if I message them, they'd message me back.
Hmm. Right, right. Well, I'm thinking that I I'd like to do a kind of an episode of that. You know what I mean? Where the
Yeah.
military gets involved in that, where gifted military people are able to maybe interact with some spirits who have passed and would need assistance. Whether it be a fort or a boat or someplace like that. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
just think that personally to me, that would be something that I would want to watch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I would want to watch that episode of that just because of the fact that it's a military and it's me having a daughter who's a chief petty officer in the Navy, and her husband being a master chief, and so their history there and my history of the military, not personally for myself, but for my other family on my dad's side, and even cousins or whatnot have all served, at some capacity, all the way back to the Revolutionary War. So
Yeah.
I just think I've had that soft spot for that. Why wouldn't you want to, if you could help a soldier move on, or you know somebody like that, would you? And I'd be in a heartbeat. I would,
Yeah. Well,
So
of
I think that
course.
with you, I think with you would be willing to do that. I think that maybe we'll just throw it out there into the universe and see what throw it up and see what drops. Because I think that that would be a great idea for an episode or a show or even a YouTube or whatever, or a documentary or I just think that how the and how these people, gifted people can play a role in the paranormal and spiritual while being in the military. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I know, like, to do something like that on base, you'd have to get base commander approval, which is
Hmm.
not impossible. It's just you'd have to have a, not you, but anyone wanting to do it would have to have a really good set plan where you're going to go.
Hmm.
And then most of the time they'd want an escort, but being military or retired military, they may just say, okay, because I know all the rules that they would let you
Right,
go through.
right.
But it's usually like public affairs goes with you or something. But yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Even going through a ship, like a World War II ship or something like that, that's
Yeah.
close by, or even so. But yeah, it's something to think about. Let it kind of fester in your brain, and
It really
it just
does
kind of
sound like
came
a
to
lot
me.
of fun because there's
It
a lot of
it
places.
does. It does.
Yeah.
It sounds like there could be some really good spiritual aspects to that show or that episode, or that, even if it's a one-off, even if you know what I mean. It's just the purpose is to contact and interact with spirits from the military who have passed and who need help crossing over, or
Yeah.
just need help with whatever they need, like messages
You know,
or
the
whatnot.
Maryland Inn. So it's something, actually, Brandon was the first person that ever introduced me to it. That place is known to have a lot of sailor spirits.
Really?
And when I was there with them investigating, there were a lot of spirits that came through up towards the top of the floor that were former sailors.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, I just think that there's so much. I know that you've got your schooling and stuff like that, and but it's something to think about. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like I still do virtual walkthroughs with people. You know, I did a virtual walkthrough investigation with my friend Taryn Kerber from Paranormal Brew a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I think it was, where she was at a haunted location in Gettysburg, and that was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
she, carried me around on her phone, and I was like on camera, just telling her where to go and what I saw. That was really interesting, and yeah, but yeah, the goal is not just to entertain people. It's the main purpose is to help spirits and to help get
Yeah.
the truth out there and find the information that's been either buried or forgotten or whatever. And that's what a lot of my documentary hopes are for Gettysburg and even other places. It doesn't even have to be one spot. There's so many different places out there that have stories that aren't being told about history that they just don't people don't want to know the history. I would rather tell them the truth, bad or good. This is who we are. This is, what it is. This is what it was. This is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You don't have to go to your safe space. There is
Right.
none. I mean, it's like just stop. You
Yeah.
know, the history is history. There's a reason for it. But yeah. So so you're just working, or you're just doing schooling right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm taking care of my daughter and yeah. Yep.
Okay.
My middle my 21-year-old is moving out next week, so
Oh
life,
no.
yeah, just like life events everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll definitely have to get together again and talk about some things. And if you have any ideas for what I talked about with the battleships or whatever, and to see maybe something will come your way and you won't
Yeah.
expect it, and then you'll be like,
Yep.
"Oh, I remember this conversation." So
The
that's
universe has
usually kind of how it
plans.
works too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Universe always has plans, but yeah, it's
Yep.
kind of what we do is we're just downloadable. We just get the information and run with it. But yeah, so on that note, um, I think that everybody who watches the show and gets a little something out of it, and I hope to have more shows with 32 and talk about random things and spirituality and stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, having it been almost an hour, I think our time is about up, and I think that I did a lot of the talking. I don't usually do that, so you could have interrupted me. You could have interrupted me a couple times. Shut up already.
maybe that's maybe that's just the effect that I have is you feel like talking when I'm here.
Eh, maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but yeah. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This will be up. Should be up on YouTube within the hour, and it'll be up on anywhere you get your podcasts. So on that note, I want to thank you, and I want to thank people for listening. And